Okay, so we all know Taylor Swift, the musician, the global superstar whose concerts literally cause earthquakes. But there's a whole other side to her, one you might not know as well. Taylor Swift, the investor. Today we're going to break down exactly how she built a billion-dollar empire, not just with her music, but by turning her art into her single greatest financial weapon.
She said this kind of laughing, right? Geriatric pop star at 32. It's pretty funny, but it's also the perfect place to start. In an industry that is completely obsessed with youth and what's next, this one little quote sets up one of the most incredible financial stories in modern music.
Because that geriatric pop star? Well, she's now worth an estimated $1.6 billion. And no, that's not just from selling albums. That number is the result of incredibly smart, strategic, and sometimes deeply personal investment decisions. So how on earth did she do it? To really get how she operates as a billionaire, we've got to rewind. We have to go back to her early days as an investor, because long before the Eras Tour was even a thought, she was quietly laying the groundwork, building a solid foundation with her money.
You know, her first big play outside of music wasn't some boring stock. It was in Silicon Valley. She put $100,000 into the photo app VSCO. Why? Because she saw it wasn't just a tool with filters, it was an entire aesthetic, a whole community that fit perfectly with her own brand. It was a bet on culture itself.
And yeah, that bet absolutely paid off. As Visco's value shot through the roof, her stake quadrupled. Now look, a few $100,000 might be pocket change for her today, but this was a huge deal. This early win proved her instincts were razor sharp, and it gave her the confidence to start making much, much bigger moves. So with that confidence boost, she turned to something a little more, solid, real estate. But this was never just about buying fancy houses to live in. This was a cold, calculated strategy to build a rock-solid portfolio of high-value assets in some of the most important locations in the country. And this timeline just shows you how methodical she was about it. I mean, she started at just 20 years old. And from there, she just steadily kept acquiring these landmark properties. A historic estate here, an entire block in New York there. Every single purchase was another piece of a much larger financial puzzle. And look at these numbers. They're just wild. An initial investment of about $102 million has ballooned to a portfolio worth over $157 million. But here's the really crazy part. It appreciates by an estimated $8 to $12 million every single year on its own. She doesn't have to do a thing. It's not just a bunch of houses, it's a wealth-generating machine running in the background. But even that real estate empire is small potatoes compared to the one event that would truly define her as an investor. The moment she lost control of her life's work. This is where the story shifts from smart investing to an all-out war for control.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It's a terrifying question for anyone who creates anything. Imagine pouring your entire soul into your work for over a decade just to have someone else own it, control it, and profit from your legacy. That was the nightmare she was suddenly living.
Okay, so to really get the stakes here, we have to be super clear on what masters are. They're not just copies, they are the original recordings. If you own the masters, you control everything. Where the songs get used in movies, who gets to sample them, all of it. They are literally the keys to an artist's entire musical kingdom. Then, in 2019, the rug gets pulled out from under her. Those keys, the masters to her first 6 albums, get sold for $300 million. And the worst part? The buyer was someone she considered an enemy. Her art, her diary, her entire legacy was now in the hands of someone she did not trust. For most people, that's game over. But for Taylor, it was just the beginning of one of the wildest comeback stories in business history.
Her plan was just audacious. It was almost unthinkable. She couldn't buy her masters back, so she decided to do something almost no one had ever tried at this scale. She was just going to make new ones. The plan was to re-record everything, get her fans on board, and basically make the old recordings completely worthless.
You gotta understand, this was a massive gamble. The estimated cost to re-record 6 full-length albums, we're talking producers, studio time, marketing, the whole shebang, was nearly $100 million. She was making a 9-figure bet all on herself and on the belief that her fans would follow her.
So, the big question. Did the biggest bet of her entire life pay off? Well, let's just say the results weren't just good. They were absolutely staggering, and they became the very cornerstone of the billion-dollar empire we're talking about today.
Let's look at the very first re-release, Fearless Taylor's version. It pulled in $35 million in its first week. 1 week. The fans didn't just support her, they showed up in force, sending a massive signal to the entire industry that her impossible plan was actually going to work.
And here's the genius of how it worked. It was surgical. Her fans, being as loyal as they are, basically abandoned the old recordings overnight. Streaming numbers for the originals just fell off a cliff, while her new, Taylor's version albums went to the moon. She didn't just create a new, valuable thing, she actively destroyed the value of the old thing that was taken from her.
The final result is nothing short of a masterclass. By making new, better versions of her own songs, she basically made the old masters irrelevant. So her newly owned music catalog, the one she has 100% control over, is now valued at an incredible $700 million. She didn't just get her work back. She created a brand new, more valuable asset that is all hers.
All right, so when you're running a global operation this big, certain things that look like total luxuries to us are actually just essential tools of the trade. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the infrastructure that keeps this whole empire running.
Let's take her private jets. The upfront cost for 2 of them is about $100 million. And then you're looking at $3 to $5 million a year just to operate them. It's a mind-boggling amount of money. So why do it?
The answer is dead simple: time. For an artist at her level, flying commercial is a logistical and security nightmare. But the real payoff, the thing that makes it all worth it, is that her jets save her an estimated 200 to 300 hours every single year. And time is the one thing she can't buy more of.
And that's saved time? It's not vacation time. It gets poured right back into the business, into writing more songs, into production meetings, into getting just enough rest to survive a massive 149-show world tour. Those jets aren't a luxury. They're a business tool that directly helped make the $750 million profit of the Eras tour possible.
And that really brings us to the heart of her entire financial philosophy. From a photo app to real estate to reclaiming her own music, and even to how she manages her time, every single major investment has been, at its core, a bet on herself, on her own vision, and on that unbreakable bond she has with our audience. When you think about it, she's redefined music ownership. She's literally boosted the economies of entire cities. Her influence is so much bigger than just the stage now. So it leaves you with one final, fascinating question. What industry is the Taylor Swift effect going to transform next?